What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Sabersim Show. It's me, Mangone, it's Rubio, and of course, it's Snyder Soldiers hanging out with us as well. I figured Holden would appreciate that, even though we know Holden is – Rubio, has Holden ever watched the Sabersim Show?
I'd put the odds at like plus 200 for that.
I might even put it at plus 400. Like, this feels like a very long shot. So, Holden, if you happen to be watching this show, please let me know. But I don't think he's ever watched a Sabersim show. But we're here talking Sabersim. We're answering your questions. So if you have any questions, throw them in the live show chat on Discord. We're going to start there. Talk with the members about that. Then we'll eventually get the questions with you guys in the regular chat, but we're going to kick it off with that, and then we'll get into some more slate breakdown. This is one of those shows where we're going to try to give a little bit of an educational breakdown on the product that we have here, Sabersim, and some of the sims that we have here. And this is a product that I keep hearing Big T say it'll be available this week on our site. So I don't know what day. I can't give you that, but it's going to be soon. We might have some people tuning into this show too that might not want to purchase this package because it's expensive, right? Like, I mean, Big T has said it on shows, if you're someone that's looking for dirt cheap or a free trial, like it's not going to be that easy. But I think this show is going to allow you to see the power of the tool and also give you the ability to understand, do I want to purchase this or not, right? Some people might want it, some people don't. That's perfectly fine. But I know Rubio and I are both big fans of this product. Rubio, talk about Sabersim a little bit, and we might have some newer people in here that are trying to find out about the Sims stuff. So why don't you give them like a quick intro breakdown of the Sims in Sabersim?
Yeah, I mean, every Monday and Thursday, usually it's AP. Sadly, I got stuck with Mangone today to talk about the slate. After I got done crying, I manned up and I got on the show, though. But yeah, really, the Sims are here. They've been here for, week 5 now that we're on. It's going to be here for NBA as well. It's been available for MLB. The contest sims and everything around it is really awesome tool. But like Mangone said, if you're not someone who plays a ton of volume or anything like that, we have different packages for you, and that'll be available on the site shortly too as well. Or you can just keep your standard, keep the optimizer, everything like that. But the contest sims, if you are looking for a little extra edge on the field, you play a lot of volume and stuff, then that's when I would recommend it, because I'll tell you, I've been very impressed with the results. Obviously, I think it's contributed to the early season success for quite a few of us here. Yeah, it should be fun, and I'm excited to answer questions too. If you guys are unsure about anything like on Sabersim at all, literally message one of us, or even put in the live show chat to have questions answered at all. We're more than happy to help. We want to make sure that you guys understand Sabersim. We want to understand that you can utilize the content from RPS for it too. Especially when we come into NBA season. I mean, we're less than 3 weeks away now. The first preseason slate is in an hour. So, I mean, we got a lot of action heading into the season. We want to make sure that you guys understand the product, and don't be afraid to ask a question ever. No question is stupid at all, because, I've asked a lot of stupid questions where it's a user error, but, I wouldn't know that unless I asked the question.
Yeah, no, it definitely is a good point that you brought up here. Swoop with a funny comment here. So he goes, I just got into Sabersim with RPS and I can't figure out shit, right? And Swoop, so this is my advice, right? So the first time I ever found out about Sabersim, I think someone was like, this is before we even had the partnership. I was told, oh yeah, we might do this partnership with this company, check it out. And they sent me all this stuff, and I started using the tool, and I was like, okay, this is confusing. And I said, I had like 4 hours until lock, I think it was 4 hours. And I said, I'm going to spend the next 3 hours or more practicing for this upcoming slate, watching videos, different things like that. So my recommendation is, we have past videos that we've done on the Run Pure Sports channel, so you can look at those. Rubio and AP have done past Showdown shows. Sure, you could watch this show. That's going to be very helpful. But also on the Sabersim channel, I know they have like educational videos, like 5 to 20-minute videos that can like help you learn some stuff. So go and search for those over there, or go in the Discord chat and maybe at one of the Sabersim guys and say, hey, I'm new to using Sabersim. What's like the best, first timer video, right? I do think we can help you out here a little bit, but I do think there's other tools that you can use as well. And this is a tool that you're not just going to use right away and like everything's going to click, right? It's going to take some work. It's going to take some practice. So as long as you put the work and effort in, though, I promise you, I think you'll see results that you'll be very impressed with for sure. Rubio, do you have any advice for our guy Swoop over here?
Yeah, I mean, if you're not the only one in that boat. I mean, goodness, it was definitely frustrating at times for preseason, but they were working with us. They fixed a lot of the bugs and stuff, and that's why we're here too. They want the feedback as well, and we understand. I think this is a good point, Vincent. I know you're always in chat and stuff. We can we'll go over the RAROI contest sim. We'll go over contest sim just a little bit today, but we do want to kind of get back to that traditional route, like showing you how to use just a regular optimizer too. And we'll make sure to cover that as well. The contest sims, though, since it's going to be a new package that's like already been available through Sabersim, but it's going to be available starting on the RPS website too. We definitely want to cover that just a bit, but I do understand that. Yeah, we'll definitely go over a little bit more just basic lineup building as well to make sure we cover it all.
Yep, for sure. Definitely want to make sure we do that. Let's see. Here we go. So Jordan said he's had Saber for 2 years and he's still learning stuff, right? Yeah, don't wait an hour till loss. That is one of my biggest pieces of advice always. Don't wait an hour. Just dive in and really mess around with it for sure. And I'll tell you this, if for some reason you do decide an hour before to mess around with it, my best advice is do as little as possible and just get like a clean run in and like call it a day. Like that would be my best advice, just because when you get too deep into the weeds, you kind of break the optimizer in a way. At least that's what I've noticed. So yeah. Rubio, where do you want to go from here? We got keep firing questions in the chat, and we got one that's like a best FanDuel MVP. That's Justin Fields. I think that's the optimal option. But
in the Discord live show chat, we had people about an hour before the show. I told them to put questions in, and we got some in there. Okay. So we can kind of go over their questions if you like.
Let's do that. I didn't know that you did it an hour before. You told me you did it, and I was like, we don't really have too many. And there was one that was more of a so I didn't realize you had some other ones. So perfect. Now that I see that, let's go to them. Can you guys go over general rules that you typically use for Showdown if possible? I know every slate is different, so that might not be possible. That's from Candace. So I think every slate is different, right? Like if you told me I was doing a college football slate, I typically, and I'll say this, I typically don't, you probably do a little bit more rules than me, and I think every slate is different. Like there might be a college football slate where I'm like, I don't want to play these two running backs together, right? Showdown, I don't know. I'm not as excited about using rules in Showdown. And I think one thing that I do personally, and it depends on how many lineups you play, like I haven't been playing 150. I've been playing probably between like 20 and 50. Because again, I'm still getting a feel for it. I'm still trying to, figure things out, get my process dialed in on Showdown specifically. So one thing I'll do is I'll kind of manually comb through teams where I'll look at them and say, does this even make sense a little bit? Like, for instance, if I have 3 running backs, like from the same team, like I feel like an idiot, right? There's like little things like, I know one I think today you thought was interesting was if it's Justin Fields and like 3 of his pass catchers, I don't even think that makes enough sense to do, right? So what are some rules you're looking at? I would argue that I kind of use rules, but it's more so looking at the lineups manually, but you definitely set the rules a little bit ahead of time.
Yeah, so one of the rules that we can look at tonight, too, is that I don't want Justin Fields with more than 2 pass catchers, right? And this can knock out 2 birds in one stone, with Stevers asking that, too. How I do that, especially for Showdown as well, is I can literally just go to group, and then I can use the if feature here. So we go under lineup rules, we select group, and then we go to if. So what I do is I'll put Justin Fields in captain or flex here. And then I'll make sure, hey, like I don't want more than 2 pass catchers. So then use no more than 2, right? If Justin Fields is used here, right, then I want no more than 2 pass catchers, right? So then that would be, you could even set it where you don't even need Justin Fields in this lineup too, right?
Yeah.
You want to do that way because I don't want more than 2 Bears pass catchers, period. So what I would do.
I'm assuming you're considering Cole Kmet as a pass catcher there?
I would consider him as pass catcher. Yeah, right. I mean, they don't really have too many.
Yes, agreed. That's the one thing I would say, like, I'm torn on. I mean, I don't think it's the worst idea, but I think Cole Kmet could be there. What is his price, though? I think that's like an interesting point. Is he priced up?
6,400.
Yeah, I mean, I don't totally agree on that rule, but I at least with Kmet, I don't know. Like, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. I think Komet and one of the receivers can get there.
No more than 2. So yeah, I mean.
Oh, no more than 2. Okay, that's
More
fine.
than 2. Yeah,
No
more than 2.
1. My bad.
Yeah, get off your high horse now.
No, well, so, and they were talking about it in the chat. So I think two is perfectly fine. I'm cool with that. And again, these are rules that you can set that I think are good. And also, like, one thing I mess up with sometimes is, like, I don't save the rule. So make sure you hit save. Have you had that issue, Rubio? I sometimes just kind of get distracted and move on to something else. But have you had that issue?
Oh yeah, in preseason I had that aplenty. I will say too. When you're going through rules and stuff, it's definitely slate specific, but it's also like, what do you think, right? I never really liked the pair Chase Higgins and Jamar Chase and T Higgins, and that was something that I separated, made a rule to separate them for the last slate that we did for both Classic and Showdown. That was an aggressive strategy. That's not something that too many would recommend because, obviously you can get the nut Bengal stack, blah blah, but to me, I was like, man, for them to both get there, it would take a lot of work. Well, T. Higgins did have 11 targets that game or whatever, just couldn't catch a pass. But there's definitely some, it's a lot of choice, right? Like, if I have Sam Howell tonight, I definitely want to pair him with at least one pass catcher. What I like to do is I like to see where the Sims are initially, like, going toward, right? I definitely want to see what things look like first before I do anything. And then I'll start to make adjustments. One rule that we can definitely just unselect is 5-1 or 4-2, right? I don't really want 5-1s, but I'm gonna let it run in this the first thing that we do, so that way we can see where all the builds are kind of spilling out right now.
Yeah, let's let it run. And one thing to mention, Jordan asked if there's no green button to press. If there's no green Sims button to run the contest Sims, that means you haven't gone to settings and selected the Sims. It means it's unchecked, so you need to make sure to check it. That would be the thing that probably has to happen there. But yeah, so you started running everything. So you're doing what filter are you doing? Explain to the people what you're doing here.
So I'm adding a filter so that way you guys don't see a bunch of cluttered zeros on the screen. You don't see the backup quarterbacks and stuff. So that way we can see all the players available to us without having to go through too many just zeros.
I never do that, so that's probably more aesthetically pleasing to the eye. So doesn't seem too bad, but yeah, I've never done it at least, but maybe I should. Maybe it would be easier on me. So let's see. So Swoop said, I selected my players and builds, but can't get lineups to pop up. What button do you press? So you can't get the lineups to pop. This is what's probably happening. You need to make 2 changes to your players. So I would recommend changing Justin Fields' projection and like Sam Howell's projection by like 2 or like X2 guys from the pool. Like you need to be doing that when it comes to that. And yeah, Jordan, the Sims aren't like live on RPS yet. I didn't know if you have it via Saber.
There are Sims. You can sim up to 2,000 lineups at this moment. The contest Sims are not available just yet, but they will be literally this week.
Yeah, it's coming. So again, we've shown this, we've showcased this to you guys just to give you a taste, and we're getting it up this week. So yeah, and like ROKN said, just make 2 changes to players, and then the green button shows up. Like if you go to click build lineups and you're not able to, it's because you haven't made any changes. So that's an important.
Yeah, to that point, I literally unchecked 2 backup quarterbacks, and then I was able to hit build. So I haven't made a single change to any.
Yeah, you can keep the. Typically, like I just change Fields from like 0.7, like 23.76 to 23.77, right? But I always make my own changes in general. So yeah. So yeah, we got the Sims are running. They'll be done shortly for sure. And again, you can run these Sims up to 2,000. You have the ability to do this right now as long as you sign up at Rumshare Sports. So you're able to have that. It's just the contest Sims that are not available yet, but will be available this week.
Mangone. So we have a question from Jordan. He asked, can you touch on the difference between the Sims and the optimizer?
Yes. So he did ask you, but well, that's because you would want to. Yeah. So the difference between both is the Sims option is like they're running the simulations and like the range of outcomes. More, at least that's how I believe it is. They're running that. If you're just talking about the Sims, not the contest Sims, but the actual Sims, they're going through kind of that process. The optimizer, the optimizer option is just all it is it's taking the raw median projection that you have made, and it's letting you make like it's running things from there. So that's where I think you need to add in randomness, you need to add in uniques and stuff like that. So is that kind of how you take it, Rubio?
Yeah, I mean, if you were to just go in, have zero randomness, just one unique, and literally no min salary, what it would produce is it would produce, if let's say you're doing 20 lineups, it would produce the 20 best lineups by projected score, which is fine. That's why when rules come into effect and stuff, where you got to add rules, you got to add min salary, you got to add uniques to diversify, you got to add whatever, right? And randomness. I love to use randomness for soccer and stuff. But Sims kind of does a little bit of that for you. Obviously, your uniques here, we only have one unique. The builds are actually done right now. I'll get exposure dragged over. I don't know if you saw that, Mango, but we have over 20% of 5-1s that hit. This is with the Sims feature, but if you change your uniques, you'll see a lot of the ownership changes, right?
Okay, Rubio, slow some stuff down. So for one thing, let the people know about this is kind of annoying, but you can always slide your exposures over, right? Yeah. I think that's one thing that I really like to do. So show them again, like just grab whatever. You can grab the exposure. See how you can slide it back and forth? I think this is like a small thing that like, yes, you have to do it every single time. It can get annoying, but I typically put the exposure next to my projection. You can put it right next to the player's name if you'd like instead. I put it next to the projection. I make my own adjustments or whatever, but this is a small thing that you can do. Now let's go to the 5-1s, just because I know you and we typically don't want to play as many 5-1s. Yeah, so my question was going to be, what do the 5-1s look like? And are they all Commanders 5-1s or any Bears?
Let's find out. I think they're all Commanders. Obviously Fields can get there with his legs, doesn't really need the pass catchers too much or whatever. But yeah, it's all Washington.
Oh, I think I saw one Bears one, which we can do it a different way. Go to the do it the oh, there it is. So
yeah, that's a brilliant lineup, right?
That is an interesting team, and it's got a Bears defense. Also, there's easier ways to do this. Remember how we show the easier way to do it. Go to the stack types up at the top, right?
Yeah.
Just so this is the easier way to do it, right? So we see, hey, look, it has a Bears one. Uncheck the Bears one real quick.
Yeah.
So it says 30 of them and 31 of them are Washington and the Bears, and then one of them is the Bears. So you can kind of click on it in that way. For instance, go off of the 5-1s real quick. Go back to all stacks and get to the players. Sorry. Just go to players. So let's say you're someone that plays single entry stuff, right? Let's say you really, really like, I don't know, go like DJ Moore. Okay. So click DJ Moore. Like just click him.
Yes.
Now I can be like, what's my favorite DJ Moore lineup and sift through all the DJ Moore teams, right? Are these, yeah. So and these are just on 5-1s, but you could do it from a non-5-1 perspective, right? Like, so these are things that I like to do at times. If I'm like, let's say there's like a player I took a stance on, right? I will look specifically at the DJ Moore teams and say, hey, which one is one that I want to look at and maybe play in single entry or in 3-max contests, right? That's just like a little thing where instead of hand building a team, you're hand picking a team is what I like to call it. So these are little ways that you can use the optimizer without like being like 150 max players. So I kind of wanted to mention that. So yeah, let's see what other questions we have in the premium chat from earlier. Yeah, this is one I want to talk about. How do I set max exposure across all teams? I used to be able to do that in the old Sabersim version. Can you do that in the sim version, Rubio? I don't think you can, but in the classic version, you can.
Yeah, I think what you would do then is you would have to change individually like this, right?
Yes.
Yeah, obviously, yeah, I don't think capping exposure, even though that you did that for soccer, right?
I did it for soccer. Yeah. When you and I were talking,
Yeah.
I just set the max on every single guy. But my max was like super high, right? It was like 60% or something crazy. So like wasn't that hard.
If you feel like you're getting too much of a player, the biggest thing is just bump them down by like a little bit. See where it takes you.
Yes.
Because if you are getting them more than what you really want, it's because the projections want you to. I mean, even when you change your uniques and stuff, it just means that that player seems to be a really good play on the slate. I would recommend just changing their projection a little bit down if you're feeling uneasy about it. But we can apply this to other sports. Like tonight, if Justin Fields isn't producing, there's not many players who are going to be producing. It's going to be hard to get away from Justin Fields in general because of what he can do on the ground, and the fact that he correlates, with DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, Roshan Johnson, and all them. Because it's tough. Because in that case, then you'd have to go Herbert or Roshan Johnson, and I don't know if that's the best thing to do in the world, right?
Yes, I agree. And especially if you set a max on Fields, and let's say your min salary is low, like I think you had it pretty low. If you had it higher up, then it would force those Fields in. But if you set it in there, then you might be just taking like you said, Roshan Johnson over Justin Fields, which like that's just probably wrong. So yeah, I think that I don't think you should set a max. I think you should just lower the projection. Now, if you want to go about it that way, you could use the classic Sabersim, but you will not be able to have the access to these other things. And I just don't think that's the way I would lower the projection like Rubio said. I was going to call you Tony for a second because I saw a question in the chat here that had T has mentioned Rubio has been helping with the Sabersim approach. What has been your biggest emphasis during your discussions? What do you think of that, Rubio?
Yeah, so I mean, I've been pretty adamant, especially the past few months, right? Like, instead of locking in players, instead of completely going overboard on people and stuff, I've been letting the projections do a lot of the talking, right? Especially like, Big T has just been killing college football, not to mention NFL and all that too, but college football especially, he's helped me in that regard, right? You can trim your player pool up, but don't set mins, don't set maxes. Use the sims, see where it's pushing you, because you can always check this stuff afterwards. Like, I know we had a question in the chat about 5-1s. That's something I usually uncheck before, but I want to see what the 5-1s are giving me now. So that way, next time when I unclick 5-1s, I won't have, 1,000 builds of 5-1s in there and stuff, but I do want to see stuff. Let the optimizer be your eyes, right? You're putting in all the information. The information is going to correlate to what you think. That's the thing too, is if you feel like you're not getting enough of bump their projection up. You don't need to get 50% Cole Kmet today because he's not going to be 50% owned, right? Well, what's his projected ownership, man? Cole Kmet is projected 22%. If you're getting 36, 37%, that's really good. That means you're overweight on Cole Kmet and all that. And that's where it comes down to these players and stuff too, where there's a lot of variance in the mid-range stuff. It's okay to commit to the top, and it's okay to make sure that you're just not going overboard on players, or you're not completely fading. Like, I could hate, let's just say for an example, I could hate Khalil Herbert tonight, but I won't be full fading him by any means at all. I'm going to make sure I have him in quite a few teams. I'll still be underweight to the field, but making that stance to protect yourself. Your longevity is going to be better. Diversification is good if you're MMEing, because you don't want to get slaughtered. No one wants to return 0 when they put in 150 lineups, even 20 lineups. You don't want to put in 0, get 0 back. And that's why this diversification helps you get better teams, better chance to be in the 1%, and a better chance to take it down. I mean, we talked about college football this past week, man, going like, I was lucky enough to get 2 teams in the top 3 with 2 players I barely had exposure to. But if I would have X'd them out, I wouldn't have had any chance to get top 3 of those, college football contests.
Yes. So I'm with you. I definitely have always liked diversifying as best as possible. And that doesn't mean the one thing I thought you brought was a good point. It was just lower their projection, right? Like, you don't have to X them, especially on showdown slates, right? Because then you're really condensing the pool. Like, a college football, I understand, like, there's just so many players, right? Or like a main NFL slate, I could totally understand. But like what I'll do is like Najee Harris is a player I don't like, right? Like I just typically don't like him, don't like playing him. I moved him from like 11.5 to like, 9.5. And like I was still getting him. And I was like, okay, like on Showdown, like I was like, I guess I'll have my 5% or 10% or whatever. Like a good example that I had was on one of the Showdown slates, the Niners and Giants Showdown slate. I had Matt Breida on like 10% of my teams. I was very underweight. He was on the winner, and I was a 1v1 from winning. And my 1v1 was Robinson versus Bell, right? And like, if I X Breida, I don't even have a chance to get up there, right? So it's like some of these guys that you still want to get exposure to, and you might just be, barely overweight on them or even with the field, and that's certainly fine. So I think overall, that's how I would approach it. I think it's always messing around with the projections more so. That's at least my thought process on it. Here's a question that I want to get to right here. How do you manipulate the stack exposure to choose 5-1, 4-2, and 3-3? Now, my personal opinion on this is I don't want to manually be like, give me all 4-2s or 3-3s or like give me 60% of these. But Rubio, let's show the people how to do it. I think we should give the people like show them how you can do it, but it's not something I would recommend. Do you agree on not recommending that?
Yeah. So to manipulate it, like, right, we just go to stack exposure. You can check it, uncheck it, right? Or, you can mess with the MinMax settings and stuff. Like, I think for the 49ers slate where they ended up beating the Giants down pretty badly, I did set a cap on my 5-1s because I always thought the opportunity for the 49ers to bash the Giants was still there. So I limited it to 10%. And you can see here, like literally I'll set 10%, I'll hit apply. These builds will change, right? You just saw the 4-2s go up a little bit. The 5-1s went down. Instead of 35 ones, we now only have 15. That Bears one is gone too. That could be something tonight because we have seen how bad the Bears can be. However, I think the Bears stand a chance tonight. It's a close spread. Both defenses, haven't been incredible by any means too. So there's a decent chance that I uncheck the 5-1 tonight. I don't know. It is Justin Fields' slate. He is a little bit wild with the ball. But we're hitting that string of where defenses have been optimal just so many times. It's been tough. But we saw it even in last game where Seattle and Giants only had 3 points. Wan'Dale Robinson and Danny Dimes were optimal. So, or not optimal per se, but they were in the winner. And I think that speaks volume. 4-2s and stuff. You hear JBC and them say it all the time. 5-1s are a little bit overplayed. So, kind of getting under from the field on what you're doing with 5-1s, whether it's a 20 max, 150 or anything, always seems a little bit better.
Yeah, real quick, Swoop. You said I screwed my projections and still a few player on a few players and still didn't get the green bill button. This would be my recommendation because I can't see your screen, so it's hard for me to tell you everything. We do have a Saber Chords chat in the Discord, or not Saber Chords. No, that's for just us. What's the Saber chat called again, Rubio? It's Saber what? The Sabersim chat, right? Yeah, under announcements. Yeah. So if you have any issues, it's under the information section in Discord, Sabersim. If you have any issues there, I would add the Sabersim guys in there, the coordinators in there. You can post screenshots and people will help you out with it. That use Sabersim and stuff like that. So yeah, I would go in there. And yeah, Dirty DFS said, is there a Discord for Sabersim Pro members? Yeah. If you're in the Run Pure Sports chat, again, it's information and then Sabersim in the Discord. You can ask questions in there and post screenshots, and there'll be people there to be able to help you out with that. So let's dive into some stuff here, Rubio, though. Again, you were talking about the 4-2s are popping up a bunch. I assume it's more Washington ones, correct? Would you agree?
Yeah, it's definitely Washington winning that battle, and we can check that out right here. They have 64-20 stacks there, which makes sense. Washington's a 6-point favorite now, or a 5.5 point. I think the line was dropping towards Chicago Bears' favor. But yeah, you can kind of see the spread of ownership that we're getting tonight. Brian Robinson's going to be a little bit popular. Yeah, it's interesting. It seems like there's a lot of spread out captains here. I'll probably trim up the captain pool a little bit tonight for sure. This is very much spread. I think some people would like this, but I don't know. It just seems a little bit too across the board for me. I do want to narrow that down just a bit. Let's go to flex. Justin Fields probably the top flex. So it is pushing double QB still. It probably makes sense because the wide receivers aren't great.
It also makes sense because there's nothing to spend for, right?
Yeah.
Like there's just nothing. Like,
and they can both run.
Yes, I think double QB is pretty easy to get to, and I think it's like, for instance, last slate Jones and Gino were optimal, or the optimal captains, right? Or on the winner, and
on the winner,
yeah. Like I just don't see a route why not to do it. And I know some people might say, well, they weren't optimal. It's like, dude, like they were on the winner. No one built that crap, so it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter if it was optimal. No one built it. So yeah, I think that's the route to kind of go to there. So I think one of the builds that's really good today, Rubio, is Justin Fields captain with 4 Redskins. Can you see how much that is like popping up? Because I think that's like I think, is it contrarian? I would assume it is, because most of the Justin Fields captains, do they go 4 Bears? I would assume they kind of correlate to do that. But I think it's like a super unique route. What do you think? Yeah, I guess
so. These teams, obviously, we have a very small sample size because we didn't trim up the captains and stuff. It's actually a little bit leaning toward Washington Commanders.
Okay.
No, I'm playing.
Yeah. You see why I'm thinking that though, right? Because typically the underdogs, if you put like a 2-4 out with it, it's unique. And if Justin Fields does just so much, it just doesn't matter, right? So yeah, I think that's an interesting route that you can.
I like that team right there. I like this team. That's a good team right there.
Yeah, that is one I definitely don't mind. Not saying I'm a huge Tyler Scott guy, but like I think that makes sense. And I don't know who the guy's going to be. Is it Tyler Scott? Is it St. Brown? Right? We were talking a little bit about that in our projections chat of how to kind of handle that situation, because there's no Chase Claypool there tonight. Let me
gut check. Where did Tyler Scott go to college? You got to call it.
Cincinnati.
Oh, there we go. All right. We're cooking.
That was. I'll admit, when you first said it, I was like, I think I got this, and I didn't know for sure. But you being near Cincinnati helped me a little bit. I was like, it's got to be a place that Rubio knows pretty well, because he's an off the board player for sure.
I would say that I kind of forget that what Claypool was he inactive last game too?
I don't think so.
I think he was, because he made the coaching comment before that. I think he was inactive for last game. The Bears offense started to get going there.
Oh yeah.
So, and it was Tyler Scott who actually showed up a little bit, not in any huge way or anything. No, it wasn't. It wasn't Tyler Scott. Who am I thinking of?
Do you have the snaps in front? I thought it was St. Brown.
It was St. Brown. He had a catch for 21 yards.
Yeah. Let me see. I'm trying to pull up the numbers. I wanted to go through this.
That's what it was. Tyler Scott had 2 rushes for 19 yards. I was going to say Tyler Scott for sure played.
You know who else had a rush was Velvis Jones. That was another one I saw that I thought was funny. Like,
he's a kick returner too. Like that guy's electric. We jammed him a little bit. Well,
he's a gadget guy. I brought up the captain, he kind of gives like a screenshot in our projection chat, shows some stuff, and I was like, we have Elvis projected, right? Just because we didn't include him in like the screenshot because it's like an under 1 guy, and I was like, that's fine. I understand why I didn't include him there, but he needs a projection, right? Just because like it could be nothing, like really small, but he needs one. And honestly, it only takes 1 play for him. Like I think he's a contrarian option that getting a splash of, if you're playing 150, I wouldn't think is crazy for sure. Let's see if there's any more questions in the chat that we can kind of get to that were worth discussing. Josh, we like Fields in general, right? We're just doing the run we're doing right now is just like a manual-based run, just looking at some stuff. You're going to like Fields in captain. I think there's no reason not to like him in the captain spot today. Let's see. We did the manipulating exposure. Rubio, we have at least one fan of me out there, so that's good. There's at least one, so that's good to hear. Someone, maybe they like the mustache as well. Who knows? Let's see. Oh, the leverage column. This is the one I wanted to get to. Do you look at the leverage column, Rubio? I do not. I understand the reasoning. I've seen Saber videos where I know Andy's gone through and talked about the leverage column, and like, I don't think it's the worst idea, but do you mess around with the leverage column, Rubio? Not mess around, but do you look at it in order to help influence decisions to make?
Yeah, a little bit. But then again, me being like, near a math scholar, big math guy over here. I don't need the leverage column. What I'll do is I'll see the basically the leverage on the field or whatever. What's my exposure? 79, 48. That's 31. I don't need math. I don't need the leverage column to tell me that's 31, right? Big math guy. You can use it, but I don't need it.
All right, another question. What settings should one set the correlation and sim diversity to 0 to 1? I typically and this is like a very simple thing, Rubio. Like, you don't have to change it on your own. I think you just change it with the style, right? Like, I guess go through and show. I scroll down a little bit so we can see it. Or I can take this down, actually. Yeah, scroll down so we see the sim diversity. Yeah. Now just change it. No, go to settings. Change it around and just show people how it moves. I guess it doesn't move. It doesn't move on.
Rerun it. We can rerun it.
Yeah. I just think in general, you can slide those things around on Showdown specifically. If it's 20 max or 150, the sim tool doesn't move, but if you were playing like NFL or different sport like that, the correlation tab will move. And I don't mess with it in Showdown, but do you kind of mess with the correlation tab or no?
So this is interesting because we even talked about it a little bit for college football, is that you felt that you weren't getting enough Caleb Williams because his wide receivers were projected so low. The correlation setting is very nice to kind of make sure that you're always getting stuff paired. I think it's more relevant on a classic slate because obviously you want your quarterback stacked up in the classic slate unless it's Geno Smith naked, But I would say that the correlation tab matters a lot. The sim diversity, I leave it kind of high, like 7, 8, or 9. What that does is isolates a performance from a sim, kind of creates that a little bit of diversification. The lower you have sim diversity, the lower chance you're going to see big spike weeks, or it's going to more flatline it, and you're going to kind of get more to what your projections are saying, but it won't give you what the diversification that you're really looking for. And that's my thing. I know Big T, he's loving Saber, he's loving life right now. He actually tones down the sim diversity to around 6 or 7. So it's all about finding what's right for you too. I mean, we all think, I don't even think I know everything about Saber or anything like that. I'm learning just as much as anyone else every single day. But if you find something that's working for you, definitely stick with it. And that goes for rules and stuff. I might not set a ton of rules. You might not set a ton of rules, but some people might have success setting rules. I mean, there's more than one way to skin a cat. And that's the best thing there too.
Yes. And when it comes to the correlation tab, I agree. It's way better on classic slates. Like Rubio's example, he said, I understood the college football slate where Caleb Williams was really expensive and all of his receivers were really expensive. And I know how Sabersim works. When you have correlation on, it does a lot of more stacks. And what happens is I wasn't getting Caleb Williams. He was at 18 or 20%. And I kept saying to Rubio, this is wrong, right? I want to get more Caleb Williams. I'm trying to figure out how. And we came to the realization, if you tone down the correlation to lower or moderate, and then I messed with it. I said, what does low look like? What does moderate look like? Yep. And I found the right number that worked for me, and I got 70% Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams was on the winner, and I had a team that was up towards the top. And you know what? It didn't mess up my overall correlation that much. The reason why it actually didn't mess up my overall correlation is one of my teams that was at the top, it had the Illinois stack, right? It had the running back with the receiver and the quarterback. And I had a lot of teams that were stacked up correlation-wise. It just was making sure Caleb Williams was not. So overall, I think you mess with it. the way that you want to, or like if you're playing 150, put it as 150. If you're playing single entry, put it as single entry. For instance, if you're playing NFL and you put it in the single entry setup, you're going to get more QB plus ones and QB plus 1-1s and stuff like that. If you set it up as 150, you're going to get more game stacks. Maybe not all of them, but you're going to get more of those. And if you don't want a huge game stack one, then exit out. If you don't want a QB 3-2, exit out. I don't think that's the worst thing to do for sure. Let's see. And I do want to go over the slate. I've been answering a lot of questions, so I want to kind of go over the slate here shortly. What does min uniques tab mean, and what should one set that to? I think uniques is all however you're comfortable with. Min uniques is basically how many uniques do you have and how is it diversifying your lineup. So what I like to do is let's watch the exposure tab, right? Rubio, set it to 2 uniques now. So switch it to 2. See how the exposure changed. Now set it to 3. It's going to keep changing and it keeps spreading out. So now, hold on. Now that we moved it to 4, go back to 4.
What was that? Sorry.
Yeah, go back to 4 uniques.
Yep.
See how 4 uniques only has 19 lineups? We've spread it too thin based on our settings. So go back to 3 uniques now.
Yes, 3 uniques. Perfect.
Now that'll give us 94 lineups. So now I'd probably, if I'm playing 150, I would have 2 uniques probably. And I think mainly it's doing that. Like I think you could get away with 3 uniques and 150 lineups if it was a better slate, but this is kind of a crappy slate. It's just like there's not a lot to play. So, I mean, there's a lot to play, but there's not a lot of good plays. At least I'll say that. So it's just because the Bears side of the ball is so thin. So yeah, it helps you diversify it out. Let's see what else we could do. What is Bobby's question? It's probably very in-depth. If a QB is getting slammed in terms of captain exposure, but there are questions like Daniel Jones the other night, no reason to run the opposite QB defense as captain. I think he's just talking about something in the chat. Cool. What that guy's trying to say is, okay, so that's just – all right, let's get into the slate a little review. I know we've kind of been doing some educational stuff and everything. Let's go through the slate a little bit. So one thing I guess in your process that I think you do a better job of than me is you trim down the pool. I don't trim it down well. I guess I could say is like I keep a lot of stuff in. On this slate, how would you handle that process? Like we already have a run here. I think this is the main run, right? Since you've done a bunch of clones, which I do too. Like you might make a run that you really like, and then you can just hit right click on it and clone it and just mess around with some other stuff. Is this something you do the trim down process after, correct?
Well, I usually do it before because I want the biggest pool possible for when I'm setting my lineups, which also
let's do it before, Rubio. Start from the beginning. Let's do it before. I'd say let's do the trim down. Do we have time to or no? Or
you probably don't because the trim down, once it trims down, it takes a while. We will do the trim down here though. We probably have a large sample size to kind of see it.
Also, you're trimming down captains right now, correct?
Yeah, I usually trim down the captains way more. Yeah, I don't, especially on Showdown, I won't trim any of the flex plays because, anyone can be optimal and Showdown, but captains, I usually want the highest scorer. Someone asked, about Brian Robinson, is there leverage there? There could definitely be leverage in like Antonio Gibson there. Let's say the Bears take the lead early, Washington ends up chasing the game. Antonio Gibson could be the guy, or would be the guy who gets a lot of snaps in the passing game, out of the backfield and stuff. That would be clear leverage. So I'm going to leave Antonio Gibson in there for now. It's tough. I honestly don't know if I want Roschon Johnson captain, but yeah, some of these guys here, I just don't think we'll have a shot to make it as the optimal captain. And if they do, it'll create a funnel. I mean, just because you have like a lower owned captain doesn't mean that a lot of people will have the same duped build too. So kind of just creating this. I'll be honest, I don't like Herbert at all.
No, keep Herbert. No, that's wrong, Rubio.
That's wrong? Bullshit. Herbert sucks.
Dude, he got 25 DK points the other day. What are you talking about?
Fine. Just for you, man.
He was on my main team on the main slate the other day.
God, you need a new process.
No, Rubio, I mean, listen, I made money. I made cash. It wasn't a win, but it was because a lot of the other stuff was shit. But Khalil Herbert was a hero. I mean, it was I had 105 points with just my running backs, and then everything else was pretty bad. But
we'll leave it like this.
Yeah, I think you need to leave Herbert.
There we go.
All right, so this is for 150. Your exposures are Brian Robinson is the #1 captain, followed by Howell, Fields. Oh, look, Khalil Herbert, because he's not that bad of a play, Rubio. Dotson, like Mooney, Kmet, and then DJ Moore. It's actually interesting. Kmet is your second highest owned Bears captain, even over DJ Moore, Cole Kmet. And that's also because you have a rule in there, Rubio. Like you have a rule where it's like you don't want those double guys. Actually, go to the flex spot. Let's look at the flex because I'm curious now what your Bears look like based on that rule that you had put in, right?
Yeah, hold on. Let me get the ownership tab over so that way we can compare too.
Yes.
All right, don't mind me. Let me do one thing real quick because I do want to do this before we end.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, I'm with you.
And we can do this while we're talking about it.
Yes, and this is something. So I think it looks like there's a chance you might have access to it tomorrow. Don't hold me to it. And again, you're gonna have to pay for it. It's an add-on, but it sounds like I know it's top priority for Wiley. I'll tell you that. He one of the conversations we were talking about getting something done. He said we need to get the Sims up first, so he's making this a priority. So don't worry, it will be here. I think you'll have it for the main slate, which I love it for the main slate. I like it for Showdown, but we'll run that right now. And so what do you want to look at next, Rubio?
So you can go over the flex plays too. Just talk about the differences. They got the ownership column right next to it.
Yeah, so number one thing that I noticed is all right, so QB's popping so much. It's just because there's just nothing to spend for, man. There's nothing to. So, and Rubio, what is your min salary you have on right now?
My min salary I have on is $40K.
Yeah,
and that'll change. I'll probably bump that up too.
Correct. So my point is you have it at 40K and you're getting this much quarterback. You're going to get more quarterbacks probably by the time you raise it even higher. So that might also impact ownership on some of those other guys like a Brian Robinson and McLaurin. But I do like where the ownership is at. Joey Sly is up there at 4,200. I definitely think it's not a bad kicker slate just because kickers are I think they're making a lot of field goals today. Where's our defense at today? I know defense has been absolutely crushing. Where's defense's exposure? I can't see it here, so I'm kind of curious, Rubio.
We got it makes sense. Yeah, about 12 to 15%. That kind of makes sense there.
Well, the Commanders' D price is kind of not insane, but it's high, right? It's 5,400. Bears D is only 4K. Gosh, I cannot believe the Bears D is 5,400. That's wild. So yeah, it is interesting that Tyler Scott and St. Brown. My opinion on that, I actually like that it's split the way it is. I like the idea of just saying, I don't want to have Tyler Scott at 30% and 0% St. Brown, right? I want it more split. Now, if you have a lean on St. Brown is better than Tyler Scott, then maybe make it 15% versus 8%, right? I would just want to make sure that I have exposure to both. I don't want to just be double on one of them. We have 20% overall. I wouldn't want 20% on St. Brown and 0 on Scott. I'd want it a little more split just because we don't truly know who the guy is, right? But if you have a lean, sure, then maybe try and tinker the projections to make it the way that you want. And we even got some Byron Pringle popping in there as well. I thought that's interesting.
So it's funny when you look at it too. DJ Moore only hits the same amount like Scott and St. Brown. That's interesting to me. I think I'll bump DJ Moore up a ton, but what it's initially showing is that DJ Moore not a optimal option at the moment, right? What is he? What's the price? 10K. He's cheap. He's more expensive than Sam Howell. He correlates really well with Justin Fields. If they're losing, I can see why Moore isn't popping a ton, but we might have to bump up his projection a bit. What is it? It's kind of low at 11. Wow, at 11. Damn.
Yeah, and that's where you can manually change it, and you might move it to 13, and maybe he doesn't pop as much still, and there might be a reason behind it. Also, I think on this was this the run with correlation or was it not?
So this is the run with no correlation. this correlation's over here.
Okay, that's fine. Don't switch. I just was asking why. And then Mr. Wade said optimizer needs a bunch of rules and settings to spit out viable lineups. So like in Showdown, Mr. Wade, I don't agree with you on that. I don't think that's like 1,000% right. Like if you told me last slate Seattle Seahawks defense with both the quarterbacks was the winner, I would probably tell you you're wrong. I don't think you need a bunch of rules in there for sure. There's unique combinations that are going to win in Showdown. One thing that I personally do is I go through and I look at the teams sometimes and I manually comb through them. It's easier to do in football, but sometimes I'll look and say, okay, like, does this make sense? Like, for instance, like, I know you and I played the 2-game slate, right? I saw some teams that were like, I think it was like Justin Fields with like 4 of his pass catchers. And I was like, okay, that's just wrong. It's not going to get there. And I X'd it. You know what I mean? Like it didn't make any sense. It was leaving a lot of salary. So I wouldn't, I mean, if you want to set rules, go for it. But I don't think you need to set the rules there on that. Rubio, what were you going to show next?
So I was going to just showcase the RAROI, the contest sim. So you can actually do this for both slates, right? Or both Optimizer and Sims, I should say. So if you go to Optimizer, you know, these are the 150 of the top optimized lineups. We'll go ahead and showcase the difference between them. But I do want to stress, like, you know, just because, you know, if you're more used to an Optimizer, more used to a sim and stuff, you can still run these contest sims with the package. And what we would add over here was with our sims, we can organize it. What Sabersim kind of recommends to do from their video before week 1 is sorted by RAROI. What this does is it changes your exposures a little bit, right? It's trying to give you the most optimal teams. We can run it again here. But with Flex, you'll notice that the ownerships change quite a bit. Let's see, where's DJ Moore at? Did he change yet? Yeah, he changed. He went up 15% here. So it kind of shows you what the optimizers, what the sims are kind of saying, what the contest sims are saying, what it's trying to do to get you more diverse across the field, and basically, you know, help you build better lineups and stuff too. It helps you identify bad lineups if you want to use it that way. I know Big T likes it because he really likes the fact that he doesn't have the most optimal, like, you know, oh, here's what the sims are spitting out or anything like that. He likes picking out those bad teams really quick. And that is a way that you can use these contest sims for that as well, is that if you didn't want to sort by that, if you wanted to do Saber score just like Saber usually has, well, we can check if a lineup is more optimal or not by going over here, seeing our, you know, our projected ROI and identifying bad teams. Like these 5 would be a bad team. Yes. Why is it a bad team? Well, it's Khalil Herbert stacked with another running back with DJ Moore as a pass catcher and no quarterback.
It is neither double quarterback. It doesn't have double quarterback. It doesn't have Howell. It doesn't even have Fields, which like in that build I would probably want.
Yeah, and that's why there's more than one way to skin a cat, right? Yeah. You can either sort by this, get the most optimal teams with, you know, nice diversification across the board, or, you know, you can identify bad lineups, still get the numbers that you're wanting to get exposure wise, and then go from there. You know, that's embracing variance is always good, especially on Showdown slates too.
Yeah, agree with you on that. We definitely got a lot of good stuff here that I think we've discussed and shown. Rubio, what else do you want to discuss, or do you want to just get on out of here?
Yeah, I do want to answer one question that Jordan put into the chat too. I actually do it the old-fashioned way because I'm a boomer apparently. I copy and paste my lineups so I download the lineups from Sabersim. This is how to upload 150 lineups, right? I actually download these lineups right here. We'll go ahead and pull it up. Then I copy them into an Excel document, CSV, or whatever you want to call it. So, and then I download the other option, my entries from DK, and I just copy and paste it that way. It's definitely outdated. Saber has it too, to where I can literally save to my contest. So I did this for you, Jordan, is that I have 150 lineups tonight into the Thursday night showdown. I can save the contest. It would save this 150 set. And I think we can even showcase the lineups here. Let's see. Maybe not. Yeah, no, I can 100%. I just got to find out how. But yeah, it would be these 150 lineups. There it is. I think it's in the $15 range too. So it's kind of nice. And you can do it that way to make quick changes. You have to upload the document though to DK, and it can automatically pull up DraftKings after you do that as well.
That's nice. I am a boomer too and do it like you, but I don't know. I have all these like cash games always in there, and it's like I don't know. I have to like I have like the fear that like I'll like somehow put it in and it'll like load into my head-to-heads and like it'll be a disaster. I'm not saying that will happen, but I have that fear. So.
And this will also matter a lot for NBA. So you can see late swap button. Obviously, the Showdown slate, we won't have late swap potential, but having late swap for college football, for NBA, for NFL, and stuff like that, it's a huge deal. And the late swap is really easy. We can make changes and stuff like that after a slate's already started. We can get better lineups that way too. I was like, we'll get into that a little bit more, a little bit deeper. I know that Wiley and Big T and AP and them were talking about getting something together for y'all, especially as members. We want to make sure that you guys understand Sabersim as much as anyone else. We're still learning too, but we know the tools power that we have on the hand, and we want to utilize it. And we want you guys to utilize it too. And I know NBA season is going to be a printer. I know NFL's been a good start for many. We want to build on that for sure.
Yep, for sure. We're definitely going to build on that for you guys. And we're in the Discord chat. We obviously have the Sabersim coordinators to be able to help you guys out as well. So tons of ways to get in there. And if you haven't signed up, use that code NFL15, get you 15% off. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like and subscribe to the channel. Check out more free content that we do for you guys. Let me get the show schedule for you guys, just so you know. Obviously, if you're watching this show, you might like some Run Pure Sports stuff, so we can let you know what we're doing for the rest of the day. We got, I believe, the Print Factory. Is that at 4 p.m. Rubio, or are we doing the Mega Show? Do you know? I can't even remember.
I think the Print Factory's at 2 with whistles.
Yes, it's at 2. I'm an idiot. This is where Rubio, living on Mountain Time and everything in my life is East Coast time, is difficult because I always convert 2 hours. So that's what happened there when I looked at the calendar. So it'll be at 2 p.m. That'll be with Whistles, JSU, and Big T. So be sure to check that out. And then we will have the Showdown King show for you. That'll be at 7:15 premium side. So if you're a Run Pure Sports member, you can check that out. It's going to be with Holden, Bryce, and JBC. They'll be breaking down the slate for you guys, answering all your questions leading up to lock. So be sure to check out that show. Rubio, any final thoughts?
No final thoughts. If I don't win, what is it, $1 million tonight? If I don't win $1 million, then I hope it's you. I hope it's you, man, going even. Or maybe we can all share it. Like, good luck tonight, everyone. I hope you do well.
And it's not $1 million, Rubio. It's $500K. But I am okay with winning $500K tonight. I'm okay sharing the $500K with some people. So as long as Run Pure members, I'll be very happy to share with them. Or someone watching this show, you might not be a Run Pure member, but if you happen to get first place, why wouldn't you become a member after that? I'd at least say that. So for me, Mangone and Rubio Dimes, we'll see you guys later.